The Soviet government reports an accident at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant in the Ukraine. Measures are being taken to deal with the aftermath of the accident and to help those affected. According to the TASS news agency, this was the first such accident in the Soviet Union. There have been many disasters involving nuclear power plants abroad.
Despite mounting concern in Scandinavia and the rest of Europe, the Russians have given no further details of what seems certain to have been the major accident at their Chernobyl nuclear plant in the Ukraine. Radiation levels in Scandinavia are still well above normal, in parts of eastern Sweden and Finland up to 100 times worse than normal following showers of rain. But still, the Russians have refused to say what has happened at Chernobyl or even when it happened. One clue came from Sweden this morning, when the local atomic authority is thought to have been approached by the Russians for advice on how to fight a fire in a nuclear plant. This has led to speculation that the reactor core at Chernobyl may still be on fire, and if this is so, there could be further risks of radioactive pollution. The Swedes have told the Russians that they've no practical experience of fighting such fires, and are said to have referred the Soviet officials to the British Atomic Energy Authority, which had to put out a fire at wind scale in the 1950s. Further confirmation of this possible development came a few minutes ago when it was reported from Bonn that the Russians were seeking West German advice on how to fight a fire at a nuclear installation. But there's been no word on any of this from Moscow. However, as our correspondent in the Soviet capital, Peter Ruff, reports, evidence reaching that city suggests that there's been a major disaster.
From what we can glean from a few telephone conversations with people in Kiev, life seems to be going on as normal. There are unconfirmed reports that people living near the power plant 50 miles away are being evacuated by bus. An American who's with a party of more than 70 British and US students on a 3-month exchange visit there said there was no obvious sign that anything is seriously wrong. They went to classes as normal, and Soviet officials were only able to tell them what the brief Soviet news agency report said yesterday. Local radio stations do not appear to be making any special announcements. There's been no contact yet with the site of the accident, and since it's a top-secret nuclear installation, there probably won't be. Here in Moscow, the Soviet Foreign Ministry is finding itself under increasing diplomatic pressure to disclose more about the accident, which everyone seems to agree must be a serious one.
Good morning. The Soviet Union has admitted that an accident has taken place at a nuclear power station north of Kiev, and there were some casualties. The official news agency TASS reports that measures are being undertaken to eliminate the consequences of the accident at the plant, where one of the reactors was damaged. There's no indication yet of the extent or condition of the casualties or whether anyone was killed. Earlier, as a wave of radiation swept over Sweden, Finland, Denmark and Norway, officials said it was probably due to a leak at a nuclear power station in one of the Soviet Baltic republics, possibly on Sunday. At that stage, Moscow denied there had been any accident.
The Soviet Union has admitted that an accident has taken place at a nuclear power station at Chernobyl in the Ukraine. But, as usual, when disasters occur, the Soviet authorities have released very little information. The news agency TASS issued a report in which it spoke of casualties, but without saying how many there were or how great was the destruction caused. TASS said one of the station's reactors was damaged in the accident, that measures were being taken to eliminate the consequences, and that aid was being sent to the injured. Our Moscow correspondent, Peter Ruff, has been studying what little information the Russians have made available.
There seems little doubt that the speedy announcement of the accident came because other countries, Sweden, Finland and Norway, detected high discharges of radioactivity in the air. It was Sweden which first reported the concern to the Soviet authorities through its embassy in Moscow. They were told that no accident had been reported to the nuclear energy authorities here, but that they would be kept informed. It's clear now that this was an accident that the Soviet Union knew it could not keep quiet. Most of the TASS report was devoted to highlighting nuclear accidents elsewhere in the world. It quoted figures for the United States where it said there were 2,300 accidents, breakdowns or faults registered in 1979 alone. This accident, said TASS, was the first at a Soviet nuclear power station. It has been reported but never confirmed that there was huge contamination near Sverdlovsk in the Urals in 1958, which killed hundreds of people and forced the permanent evacuation of thousands of others over a 50 square mile area. But that was at a nuclear waste facility, not a power plant.